Okay, today we're going to make a pot of peanut brittle. In my candy pot, I'm going to add a 1/3 cup of water. One cup of light corn syrup. And 3 cups of sugar. Turn the fire on high. Mix it all together. It's good if you have a candy thermometer. You don't need to put it on the pot quite yet, but this is what it looks like, a candy thermometer, and we're going to get 300 degrees, which it says it's hard crack at 300 degrees. We're going to let this all melt together. Then we're going to add 3 cups of peanuts to the mixture. Our sugar is almost finished melting. And it's balling a little bit on the edges, but we're going to wait till it's balling all the way through. Looks like all of our sugar has melted and our candy is starting to cook a little bit more along the edges. We're going to add peanuts, 3 cups. I have some of these Clover Valley salted peanuts, dry roasted. You can use these. I had a little bit of these left. I have some of these I'm going to put in it. It's just roasted, salted, Star Snack peanuts. Because I add the peanuts that already has salt on them, I don't add salt to my candy. So now that the sugar's melted and it's starting to bubble up good, we're going to add our peanuts. 3 cups of peanuts. Mix them in real well. Now we're going to let this cook until it gets to 300 degrees. We'll put our candy thermometer in. And there's a little red line in the candy thermometer you can see. And we'll watch it rise. You don't want your candy thermometer to touch the bottom of the pot because then it'll give you a false reading. You just want it in the candy. Our candy is boiling with our peanuts in it. We're at about 225 degrees. So you basically are cooking the water out. So we're just going to let it boil and continue to cook until we reach 300 degrees. The candy is cooking well. We're almost at 250. We don't want to scorch the peanuts, so we'll stir it every once in a while. Okay, we're about 275 degrees. Our candy is still cooking. This is candy that I've been making for years and years. It is excellent. I had a man to tell me that he didn't want any anymore because he can't put it down. He would eat it all in one sitting. So it's good. It makes a lot, so it's good to share. So if you make this recipe, you have enough for you to eat and enough to share with family members or neighbors, or find somebody single. They don't make stuff like this, so they would love to eat some. Okay, our temperature is getting there. Not quite yet. But you can tell how the syrup is getting a little bit darker than it was, and the candy looks thicker than when we first started out. We're cooking the water out of it. Toasting the peanuts and cooking the candy. You have to make sure that you mix it every so often so your peanuts don't scorch. Okay, we've made it to 300, but it doesn't look like it's cooked enough, so I'm going to cook it a little bit longer. We'll see what temperature we go to make it the right color. Okay, it looks like it's about done. It's at 315, 320 degrees. So now we're going to take our candy thermometer out, set it aside, and this is when you add your baking soda. I have 1 tablespoon of baking soda. I'm going to run it through a sifter. Nobody likes to bite into a chunk of baking soda. So we're going to mix this in. Well, and you can see how it's beginning to fizz up. I haven't turned my fire off yet. You have to make sure you have your pot's big enough where it doesn't run off out of your pot, because it grows. You see the light tan color of the candy? That's what I was looking for. So we're going to take our pans. Oops. And we're going to bring them over here to the stove. And we're going to pour our candy into our pans. I have 2 pans, 15 by 9 pans. We're going to pour our candy into the pans, and we're going to scoot it around to flatten it out. You take it and you pop some of the air out, and then we scoot this one around in the pan to make it thinner. Pop some of the air out. So now we have 2 pans of peanut brittle. 1, 2. Now we're going to let it cool to room temperature, and you don't want to leave it too long before you put it in a bag, because if you do, it'll get sticky. So as soon as it cools to room temperature, we're gonna stick it in a Ziploc bag. Okay, this is the candy. It's cooled off. We're gonna flip it over. And this is how we break it. You just take a spoon and you pop it on the back side and it'll crack up. You crack it as much as you want. If you want big pieces, leave it big. If you want small pieces, just pop it a little bit more. This is one of the 2 pans that we made. This is going to work with my husband tomorrow. Everybody he works with loves to eat it. So every so often I'll make some for him to bring to work and share. If it doesn't crack, just hit it a little harder. All right, I think it's small enough. We're gonna put it in our Ziploc bag. It's best to store it in a Ziploc bag because in the South it gets real humid. And when it gets real humid, it gets sticky. So we don't want the candy to get sticky. We want it to stay fresh. I brought a half a bag of this to my sister's house for Christmas. And my niece and her family were leaving, and I asked her if there was any of the candy that I made that she wanted to bring home. She said she didn't want to because she couldn't stay out of the peanut brittle, but her oldest son wanted to bring the rest of it home, so he took the rest of the bag with him, which was left. There wasn't a whole lot left in the bag. But once you start, I mean, it's not always easy to stop. So this is one piece of candy. It's a little thick. If you wanted it a little thinner, you would just have to, when it's warm, to tap the edges of the pan and it would get thinner. But I mean, it's fine with me thick. And the air bubbles inside, you can see what the baking soda does to it. Same thing like it does to a cake. It makes it rise. The candy, it made it rise also. The edges are thinner. The center is a little thicker. I mean, it melts in your mouth. Put the rest of it. You make about a gallon. That's why I said it makes a lot. So if you have someone to share with, it's always fun to share. There you go. One batch of peanut brittle makes a gallon.